Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our discussion on the agentic future of marketing and communications. I'm Brian Buchwald. I lead AI and product here at Edelman, and I'm joined by my colleague Mirza Jermovic, who you're going to hear in just a few moments. And we have hopefully what should be a really robust uh, content agenda for you to learn and discuss amongst all of us. And to that end, we're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for Q&A. So if you have Q&A, if you have topics you'd like to discuss, please feel free to put them in the Q&A chat box. We're going to cover a few things before we get there. The first is a discussion on the rise of agentic AI, the impact it's making on marketing and communications, and what that's likely to look like for the future. Then we're going to talk about transformative change, how an agentic AI model is actually going to likely transform our organizations and not just our businesses. Then we'll look at AI in action, what a well-designed AI agentic framework actually looks like and how it can manifest. And lastly, how we can collectively prepare, how organizations can make progress on their journey towards this agentic future. We are all in this together. So we're going to give you our best thinking, and we look forward to hearing from you as well on these topics. If we go to the next slide. This is a little bit of a provocation, but we do think it's true. The technology and how we use it collectively is evolving. So if you're still prompting AI, you are in danger of being left behind. And we're going to talk about why that's the case in the next few minutes. If we go to the next slide, AI is moving now from being a support tool used by individuals to an active agent integrated into larger collective organizations. And if we go to the next slide, this is moving organizations to what we're framing as an agentic platform model. And before we dive into how that manifests, let's actually define agentic, because oftentimes beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but agentic AI refers to AI systems that are capable of autonomous actions and decision-making. And these systems, often referred to as AI agents, which you've probably heard a lot about recently, can pursue goals independently without direct human intervention. This is not Star Trek. We're not talking about something 500 years from now. This is stuff that is happening today and is only going to accelerate over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. So we're moving in this agentic framework from an era of AI enabling efficiencies in a single model to an agentic model that actually integrates multiple specialized models capable of handling really sophisticated multi-stage projects. So if you look on the left, we're in a single task model where many of us are today. We're limited to isolated outputs. We put in a request, we define an action, we get an output. But the agentic model actually changes that. We move from a focus on outputs, such as a press release or a LinkedIn post, to actual focus on orchestration. And that means we can hook these systems together. So really complex agents hooking other agents together, moving us from a single task to a focus on outcome and all the different steps that take place before we get to that outcome. So if we go to the next slide, this means ultimately for all of us on this call, it isn't just about productivity. It's actually a shift in capability. So for example, take something prosaic, like the crafting of a press release. What used to take 3.5 hours or so can become the launchpad for an entire campaign. Now with AI, look what you can accomplish in just 30 minutes. The crafting of the press release, emails, a website, a social campaign, a video a script, an actual video. All of this happening in a fraction of the time that the press release used to take to be written. So the power of these multimodal agentic systems means we don't just scale speed, we actually expand collectively what's possible for all of us. Okay, so if we think about this then through the lens of integrated AI solutions, it means we can start to think about other real-world applications that we all deal with every day. So let's look at, for instance, how integrated AI solutions across a multi-phase workflow can have instrumental impact, not just on the individual pieces, but actually how work collectively gets done. So in this example, we're going to see how a massive manual report can go from being synthesized to easily accessed to democratized for widespread use across various stakeholder groups. Starting in the synthesis phase, we can apply AI analysis to a massive 82-slide, 30,000 word report, something that we all probably deal with all the time. AI now can summarize and analyze that report to reconfigure it for immediate consumption by slimming it down into a highly relevant executive briefing. So again, 30,000 words, 80 pages, slimmed down seamlessly into an executive briefing. And if we go to the next slide, we move from this data synthesis and analysis phase into the access phase, where the agentic model can take that executive briefing and translate it into various languages, and deliver it as a podcast within those languages to an informed and ultimately very busy global stakeholder group. So moving from 30,000 words to an executive briefing in the language and the context that matters for different audiences globally, and then deliver to them in a way in which they can easily access it and consume it. If we go to the next slide, finally, in the democratization phase, the information synthesis is easily accessed out of complex knowledge management systems with an integrated chat interface to make the data in the report itself easily leveraged by anybody on the team for actionable insights. So the key takeaway for me, as I look at this, and as we actually bring this to bear, for instance, for different clients, is now it's not just about the report and the executive briefing, but it's about the recursive questions that can be asked by anybody in the organization of not just the report and the 30,000 words, but everything that even may sit behind that report, making knowledge accessible to everyone on the team in a way in which it feels very natural to their learning behavior. So go to the next slide. What we're seeing now through these types of examples is that agentic AI is finally delivering on the long-awaited potential of automation, intelligence, and autonomy in the way that we communicate. So AI now optimizes and executes, and it learns in real time. And what this leads to are ultimately stronger outputs and stronger outcomes, new ways to frame strategies and inform actions, a workplace freed up from the processes that ultimately gobble up so much of our time to a focus on strategic and creative expertise. And lastly, accelerated impact by taking action closer to real time than ever before, essentially collapsing the window between insight and action and bringing those two directly together. So what does this mean specifically for marketing and communications organizations? Well, first, speed and efficiency. Organizations can now execute campaigns at an unprecedented pace, reducing the time from strategy to execution while critically maintaining precision and quality. Again, no necessary trade-off between speed and quality. And this enables teams to be more responsive to breaking news, to industry shifts, as well as to evolving audience expectations. So as we're moving, our audiences are moving, and strategies are not created over months. They're created over hours or days, or even sometimes minutes. There are strategic gains. Advanced automation enhances decision-making by synthesizing vast amounts of information, by surfacing trends, and providing insights that inform messaging and campaign direction. And this ensures that communication strategies are driven by data rather than intuition alone. We come at it with an empirical understanding of the evidence, right? Off of vast swaths of data that allow us to lean in more aggressively to now what we know to be true. And we can also maximize resources. Instead of relying on limited internal bandwidth, our clients and brands more broadly can leverage scalable solutions to generate, refine, and distribute content across multiple channels. And this expands collectively our reach. It enhances personalization and relevance for all the different audience groups we're looking to impact. So if we go to the next slide. Where this is all leading us to is ultimately the organization of the future. A few months ago in Davos, Mark Benioff gave a great speech to CEOs and others in attendance. And he talked about essentially what was happening to workforces across the globe. And that was that the group in Davos that he was talking to would be the last group of executives to ever manage a human-only workforce. He said, from this point forward, we will be managing not only human workers, but also digital workers. And he put the line in the sand again early this year, 2025. So Mark was predicting that AI and humans will work together to create a higher level of success because the technology is becoming our partner to help us run our lives, run our businesses, and to help us deliver on a totally new level of productivity. Mirza?
Thank you so much, Brian, for that great setup. As Brian said, my name is Mirza Dramovic. I'm the Senior Vice President of AI Solutions and Advisory here at Edelman. I'm excited to spend some time today discussing with you all the pathway that organizations must take to move to an agentic model. And during our time together, we are going to be looking at real-world client examples from our vast and diverse client base at Edelman. We'll discuss the qualities that an organization needs in order to be ready for agentic transformation. And we're going to provide really actionable and applicable next steps to prepare for this coming future. The more that organizations accelerate in their AI maturity, the more that they will be able to unlock real-world business impact from their marketing and communications initiatives. But if we look at the current state of the marketing and communications industry writ large, most organizations are still very early on in their adoption and AI maturity. These organizations are still building on awareness, efforts, and education, while slowly starting to move into real internal efficiency gains with AI-driven solutions and tool procurements. As the leader of the AI advisory business here at Edelman, I have a lot of clients that come to our team every day asking which tools should we procure in order to achieve efficiency or productivity. And the answer is really dependent on the organization and the way that your people work. There's no blanket right answer for the right off-the-shelf tool. And to unlock new capabilities that are promised by an agentic workforce, organizations really need to continue on the pathway of evolution and maturity by following the necessary steps of achieving baseline education, establishing AI governance specific for communications, achieving internal efficiencies with the right tool selections, automating workflows with strategic enablement through custom models and AI tools. And finally, being able to unlock the new capabilities that Brian alluded to earlier with AI agents being strategically enabled and integrated into the workforce. What does all of this look like? Obviously, there is a lot of work that's required in order to get to a fully functioning agentic model. And there are three key phases that any marketing and communications team or organization should consider. Phase one is the adoptive phase. And this is where organizations can see true automation at the deliverable level. And what are some of the requirements of this phase? The first requirement is an AI literate workforce. If you recall that maturity slide that we just looked at, having baseline education across your teams before they start using tools is critical in order to have successful implementation and enablement of AI technology. Also here, you can start cataloging some of the custom use cases as well as models that your organization is leveraging as part of the adoption of AI. And with the use of those two, a literate workforce and a robust catalog of tools that are procured with specific use cases, you can then begin to improve deliverable quality and speed by achieving baseline productivity and efficiency gains. In phase two, this is where organizations need to be moving themselves towards automation at the workflow level. And what does that mean? That means that you're looking at fully integrated AI-powered solutions and offers across your organization. It means that you've automated your workflows by sequencing them, which means you've looked at the deliverable level as well as the workflow level. What are all of the steps involved from A to Z to achieve a final output? And where can you strategically integrate an off-the-shelf tool with a specific use case for your organization, or a custom model that can support that workflow to enable your teams to focus on more strategic work? Also part of this phase is really well-structured data and knowledge management. The greatest promise of AI and the agentic future is well-structured and easily accessible data across your organization. This future will be a forcing function for many marketing and communications teams to get their data shored up, cleaned, structured, so that it can be easily trained into AI models and agents. And then finally, phase three is the agentic future. This is where automation is seen across levels, and you're enabling agents to make baseline tactical decisions that humans used to manage inefficiently before. Of course, you have human oversight over the final output and deliverable, but really the human workers are focusing on elevated areas of expertise, as well as focusing on more strategic work that's going to drive the organization and its business initiatives forward. So when we look at how organizations can successfully execute on this journey, we have to look at where they can move their subject matter experts from managing processes and priorities to really focusing on strategic thinking. And that means moving from balancing competing priorities and managing complex, time-consuming processes to executing on deliverables without losing sight of client needs. You're also moving away from reactive expertise and more so to curated automation and proactive, insight-driven decision-making. And you can help change shifting initiatives to emphasize the value attached to your strategic thinking to move your organization forward. And that is what the future promises. You can also look at processes, moving consistent, high-quality outputs via simpler processes that move from reactive responses burdened by extensive process overhead and inefficiency and tasks and deliverables that pass through multiple hands and decision makers to streamlined teams managing AI-driven agents to streamline workflows, looking at queued tasks and team members optimized to support meaningful, efficient processes and outputs that consistently meet the needs while delivering higher value at a quicker speed, which is powered by agents. And this is all going to mean collapsed processes, layers, and teams that reduces complexity and enhances efficiency across your marketing and communications organization. Here at Edelman, we have been on our own journey towards an agentic organization. Over the last couple of years, we have really focused through strong executive support on developing robust AI governance. And moving through our own process, we're really focused on key milestones within each of the three phases that we have outlined today. We've built an AI literate workforce. We have leveraged the robust expertise of our transformation and enablement teams to ensure that the Edelman workforce understands both the risks and opportunities of AI, but also understands how to leverage off-the-shelf tools as well as custom models like GPTs within their day-to-day. through a robust knowledge management system of tracking use cases, as well as GPT catalogs. And this has helped improve our deliverable quality and speed across workflows, clients, and specialties. In phase two, we're really looking right now at fully integrating AI-powered solutions and offers across our organization and sequencing our workflows, as mentioned. And this is leading to greater use of our data, both proprietary and looking at establishing knowledge management across our client bases to ensure that we're delivering the highest quality and speed across our strategies and deliverables on behalf of our many clients. And we're moving towards phase three, which is our entire workflow across individual solutions and offers being managed by AI and elevating our specialties and focus areas of expertise to better serve our clients through AI-powered communications and marketing efforts and initiatives. And we're continuing the great work, hard work across our teams, both on AI, product, and otherwise to achieve this future state. Now, let's get into some of the results that we're seeing along this journey with some real-world client examples from across our diverse base. We'll go through 3 different examples, identifying common problems that a lot of organizations, probably many represented on this call, face, and how an agentic future can deliver on the promise and opportunity of solving that challenge. When we look at this example, it highlights an incredibly common challenge across large organizations, especially those hiring at scale. Our client needed to create customized job descriptions for each with unique requirements based on role, location, and team. But they also needed to maintain a consistent voice, ensure inclusive language, and communicate clearly to prospective applicants. For introducing any AI intelligent automation, this process was fully manual. Into writing, compiling, translating, and formatting every single job description by hand. It was slow, error-prone, and simply didn't scale with speed or consistency that the business required. To give you a few parallel examples, this challenge isn't just limited to job descriptions. Think about other types of high-volume, semi-customized content that organizations are churning out. Press releases, internal training documentation, RFP responses, even policy communications. These all demand clarity, consistency, and customization at scale. And without AI, they suffer from the same bottlenecks, which is too much time, too much variation, and too little agility. If we look at what the solution to this type of challenge is in the agentic framework, we can look at 4 different types of agents that support the automation of a solution to address this challenge. We started with developing an input analysis agent, which automatically checks for completeness, errors, inconsistencies, and flagging these for human review early on in the process. That agent then kicks that information to a job description boilerplate agent, which assigns relevant job categories, career paths, and standard language to ensure consistency across the deliverables. That agent then jumped over to the job responsibilities agent, which generates role-specific responsibilities with a unified format, tone, and style that is approved by the client. Then we go to a translation agent, which applies AI-driven translations, refining language for clarity and accuracy across the regions and locales that the client wants to deploy the job descriptions. And then finally, and probably most importantly, a QA, quality assurance agent, conducts a final check to ensure job descriptions meet all requirements before approval. And what is the impact of all of this? By integrating these different agents together, the organization significantly reduced their manual effort, improved accuracy and inclusivity, and accelerated the job description process in a way they could have not done through a human-led approach. And this moved from a reactive manual process to a more strategic automated workflow. In the next example, we will outline the challenge we were solving for one of our major QSR clients. As you can imagine, a large client will receive a near constant flow of earned media coverage and everything from national headlines, hyperlocal mentions. And the problem isn't a lack of coverage. It's how to make sense of it all in a way that directly supports the client's evolving communications and content goals. Before we introduced AI into the mix, this process was entirely manual. Teams had to comb through media hits, categorize them, and then figure out which outlets best aligned with the company's strategic initiatives. And this not only consumed a massive amount of time, but it also introduced a lot of subjectivity into the process. Different team members might interpret the same piece of coverage differently, or they might recommend different outcomes for the same campaign. And the result of that is inconsistency, inefficiency, and a lag in the ability to respond to media momentum in real time and parallel that to content production. And that's the core challenge we set out to solve with a more intelligent, scalable approach. And in the solution that we developed for this problem, we leveraged 3 different agents. The first was a data analysis agent, which automatically scans and categorizes earned media engagements, identifying key themes, sentiment, and relevance to the client's ongoing initiatives. And it also helped flag high impact opportunities for further analysis by humans. Then that kicked over to a logic mapping agent. And this aligned earned media coverage with the client's PR and communications objectives, mapping media outlets to strategic goals. And this ensured media outreach efforts and responses were continually optimized for maximum impact and on brand. And then finally, the logic mapping agent kicked to the content recommendation agent, which generated tailored media recommendations for each communications initiative, ensuring the right messages reach the right audiences at the right time, enhancing consistency and reducing the manual effort required through the original process. And by integrating these AI agents, the organization significantly reduced the manual overload required to evaluate earned media inquiries as well as responses, increasing accuracy and strategic content alignment. And this moved from a reactive, subjective process to a data-driven, always-on earned media strategy. The challenge comes from a large lifestyle brand with a highly complex press inquiry process. They manage everything from a combination of email and hotline, responding to journalists around the clock. And each inquiry has to be carefully mapped to an appropriate response based on an internal decision tree that is updated fairly frequently. It's a high-stakes workflow, one that requires precision, speed, and constant training to ensure consistency, especially since it's active 24/7, 365 days a year. Before introducing more advanced AI capabilities, this process was also almost entirely human-led. Teams were responsible for reviewing every inquiry, determining the correct response path, and then only at the end leveraging AI to potentially help draft and align messaging. So the role of AI was fairly limited. And the real bottleneck came earlier, which was mapping the inquiry to the right workflow, which took significant time and institutional knowledge. And this kind of challenge isn't unique to press inquiries either. We're seeing similar manual burdens in other reactive, high-volume communications workflows. Think customer service, escalation handling, policy violation reviews, perhaps, or even internal HR inquiries. All of them share the same core issue: heavy reliance on human processing before AI ever enters the picture. Under the agentic future, AI can enter a lot earlier and help automate this entire workflow. Let's look at the agents that are involved in developing the solution to this type of challenge. First is an inquiry mapping agent. This type of agent automatically categorizes incoming press inquiries, mapping them to the appropriate stakeholders and response workflows. This ensures consistency in routing and minimizes delays in escalation. That then goes to a triage decisioning agent. And this agent helps evaluate urgency, relevancy, and stakeholder alignment, triaging inquiries based on a preset decision framework that was offered and approved by the client. And this ensures that press requests are prioritized efficiently and assigned to the correct teams in real time. Finally, the press response agent helps generate AI-assisted responses aligned with client-approved messaging, ensuring accuracy, brand consistency, and rapid response times while reducing the manual burden on teams. And the impact of this is that by integrating and leveraging an AI agentic framework solution, the organization significantly reduced response time, streamlined press inquiry management, and ensured consistent, high-quality responses at scale. This moved from a fully manual, high-touch workflow to an AI-assisted, structured response system that operates 24/7, increasing efficiency, accuracy, and response time. I hope these illustrations have given you a taste of what the agentic future can do. And now let's talk about how you can prepare for your own organization's agentic future with the right formula and actionable next steps that you can take following today's webinar. The formula for a successful AI-driven transformation includes the right people, the right strategy, and the right technology. And let's dive into each of these in a little bit more detail. Transformation starts with your people. As an organizational leader, you must ask yourself how to ensure your people are ready for the transformation journey ahead. And some key steps to take include getting executive leadership buy-in, so your executives can champion transformation throughout the process. Too often, we've seen clients attempt to transform their marketing and communications organizations from the ground up, and this simply is not an effective approach. Getting executive leadership buy-in from the C-suite down is the most effective way to ensure that your organization can handle the large task of change management that the agentic future demands. And arming your teams with the right capabilities to develop, implement, and sustain AI-driven strategies for the long term is critical as well. And that effective change management will empower the full organization via clear communication, training, and involvement along the way through robust communications, training workshops, and look-arounds in terms of what's coming up next, so that everyone across your marketing and comms teams and organizations feels prepared and knows contextually where they are within the process. In terms of developing the right strategy, you should be focused on one that turns experimentation into real business impact driven by marketing and communications initiatives. You want to ask yourself how you move from a test and learn stage with technology to seamlessly integrating AI-driven solutions into your organization's key workflows. Pilot programs and small task forces that look at tools that are available in the market are a great starting point. However, in order to achieve the promise that the agentic future provides, you must broaden that impact across your organization. And things to keep in mind when developing the right strategy include, are you embracing data-driven decision-making to help you focus on the right priorities? We've mentioned data a couple of times today, and it really will, the agentic future really will be a forcing function for communications and marketing teams to shore up their data in order to leverage this technology at maximum value. And having a strong governance structure will help you harness new technologies and solutions in a trusted, not limiting way. And that governance should apply to your data as well as how you use these tools across your teams. While task-based AI efficiencies, are helpful as a starting point, real AI-driven transformation comes from infusing AI solutions into priority workflows strategically. I mentioned earlier that a lot of clients come to Edelman and they ask, what are the right tools to enable my teams with? And that's not necessarily the right first question to ask. The right first question to ask is, how are my workflows structured today? How do my teams go from A to Z? And then how do I map strategically AI use cases into those workflows that then ladders into the right tools to use for those workflows? And having one eye toward structured adoption so you can drive effective use at scale and at pace is going to be critical to achieving the value of an future. Lastly, you want to make sure you have trusted technology driving your strategy. You've shored up your data, you've developed governance, you've mapped your workflows. Now you want to select tools that support those workflows. And when selecting tools, you want to focus on tools that will be most impactful to everyday work, not just those exciting experiments for the short term. And the trusted technology you choose should follow your strategy so that you're enhancing your business goals. Other things to keep in mind could be systems that are user-centric in design and incorporated to solve business needs will be the easiest to integrate into your workflows and drive short-term value. Tools you are considering should be rigorously vetted and piloted to ensure a fit for your organization. If you haven't read, the Edelman AI team published a great landscape report looking at the AI tool market in fall of 2024, where we assessed over 200 generative AI tools across 6 communications use cases and provided you criteria for enterprise readiness and functionality that should help you in your journey of selecting the right tools for your organization. And with technology, of course, always have realistic expectations. At the end of the day, AI tools are just that. The tools can only be as effective as you leverage them. Good in, good out, strong prompting methodologies and structures, very specific use cases mapped to your workflows and your teams. All of that is critical pre-work before licenses should ever be placed into folks' hands. As you embark on your own journey towards an agentic future, there are a few things to keep in mind along the critical phases. In the adoptive phase, you want to look at training org-wide your teams to leverage trusted tools that you've vetted for enterprise readiness as well as value within your workflows. You want to test and learn, finding opportunities to scale use and apply those across your teams and different functionalities. And you want to customize solutions that address your biggest areas of automation opportunity. So looking at how can you leverage your proprietary data to customize or use an off-the-shelf tool or custom model that can help you do a lot of the pre-work for the agentic automation future. In the powered phase, you're going to simplify your workflows by integrating custom-built solutions like custom GPTs, Copilot Studios, and you're going to redesign and roll out new ways of working. This is where the hard work of change management comes in. And you're going to build AI automation around the broader workflow and deliverables and across teams, not in a vacuum. And you're going to introduce basic agents to pilot, like a data analysis agent or a content recommendation agent, before you move to the all-important third phase, which is the agentic phase. And here you can look forward to custom models that are now mapped to workflows by agents. And those agents execute frictionless workflows, and they exchange information and make decisions as they pass outputs from one agent to the other, executing across many different workflows and delivery types. And then the subject matter experts in your organization can work in collaboration with these agents to get their work done, avoid the pitfall of tactical work, and move to more strategic thinking to really empower your organization to achieve your highest business priorities. Lastly, I want to leave you with some reminders on where to begin. I know that there is a great demand for which tool is the perfect fit for my organization. How do I begin? And the first step to an agentic future is not an agent. The first step to an agentic future is education, shoring up data, governance, workflow mapping, and then identifying the right tools that can support those workflows and business objectives. And communications teams should begin experimenting with foundational tools, integrating structured automation at whatever scale is possible into their existing workflows, and upskilling their teams to understand the potential impact that this will have in the long term. Investing in the right infrastructure today will ensure that your organization remains competitive as these technologies mature, and they do mature quickly. Over the past 12 months, the capabilities of AI have more than 5x'd, and the pace of that development is only shortening as we move into the future. So it's important to maintain ongoing AI literacy to ensure everybody knows what's coming around the corner, and to strategically enable your teams with the right tools and custom models in phase 2 before you can achieve the value that the agentic future provides.
Thank you, Mirza. We want to leave enough time at the end for Q&A, and I see we've had a really good, robust series of questions coming in. Those have been collated and shared with me, so if I don't get to your question, there's a guy named Jim Reynolds on our team, and you can blame him for that. First question to respond to. Mirza, I'll give this one to you. Given the low level of human involvement, how do we ensure accuracy and that our AI is not hallucinating?
That's a great question. And I would challenge that there's a low level of human involvement. The promise of AI agents is that they will automate a lot of lower level or tactical tasks that humans currently have to drive through a manual process currently. Throughout all of the examples that I shared today, as well as through the context that I hope that Brian and I have laid, human oversight and review is a critical component of the agentic future. We're shifting from a future of manual human-led processes to agentic-led processes that humans manage. These outputs, the deliverables, and the information is getting vetted by a manager of agents versus a human necessarily creating them. And that's where the efficiency and value lies.
Great. I'm going to give you another one, Mirza. As the leader of our AI advisory practice, which AI use cases are most requested by our clients? I mean, which business problems are they actually trying to solve?
Absolutely. I would say I'll give you two answers. One of them is from our landscape report that we published in the fall, and the other is very specific asks that we get from clients. If you look at writ large, the use cases that generative AI enables for communications and marketing, they broadly boil up to 6 different use cases: writing, research, synthesis, analysis, design, and ideation. Everybody on this call, most of our clients, most everybody at Edelman does one, if not all 6 of those use cases every day. We write an email to our boss, we draft a social media campaign, we ideate ideas for a client deliverable, or for an announcement. And AI can support you in all 6 of those use cases. And a common approach that we deploy as part of our advisory services is when we're auditing and mapping workflows at our clients, we look at which points in the workflows can we map one of those 6 use cases to then help identify the right tools to support that point of the workflow. So I would say that's the general answer. The more specific answer that we hear in terms of requests from clients is a lot of clients want to know how they can develop a report faster leveraging AI. They want to know how they can more easily concept a social media or creative campaign leveraging AI. And we have amazing subject matter experts in our creative experiences and production teams that help deploy that for clients on a day-to-day basis. A lot of text-heavy and numerical outputs are also areas of focus for our clients, and AI can help support those as well through an agentic model.
Great. I'll take the next one. We had a few variations of a question, so I'll lead with the first one I see here. How much heavy technology lifting does this require? Presumably, Edelman isn't a systems integrator. Are these solutions integrating different agents built from off-the-shelf products? It's a great question, and the answer is it is all of the above. So first, we actually have quite a robust technology organization and data science organization that we stood up over the last few years, especially as we've seen generative AI take off. And to that end, we have created our own LLM off of open source software where we've actually configured it to get to better understanding and quantification of trust, which is something that's important to Edelman, and the way to make trust actionable that we couldn't get out of any off-the-shelf tool. On top of that, we have fairly large enterprise relationships with companies like Microsoft for Copilot and OpenAI for ChatGPT. And what that manifests is in a couple of different ways in which we build out these agents and these capabilities. The first is we're making the platform available to everyone at the company, so all Edelman employees have access, for instance, to enterprise ChatGPT. On top of that, they can use what we call our foundational models, which are 6 models we've created for roughly 26 common use cases in earned and marketing communications that everybody at the company can use. Now, on top of it, there have been 3,000 custom GPTs created by employees at the company. And we have vetted those and added roughly 24 of them into a ChatGPT gallery or a GPT gallery where the best of breed can be used by anybody at the company. So we have an engineering team and a data science team. We have the weight of the network itself creating GPTs. We also have what we call a build team, which are relatively technical people who can write, for instance, Python scripts and integrate with third-party databases who are using a mixture of proprietary software and a ChatGPT and external data sources to get to really differentiated agents. So a lot of what you saw from Mirza in terms of those more complex workflows, those were built by our build team, which had some level of technical input so that we could actually scale it and ensure it was ready to be used for clients, for instance. Mirza, a question for you. What is our typical advice on transparency on the use of AI and its outputs? And is there a form of policy we're building for building that language into contracts or SOWs?
That is a great question. AI disclosures is a very hot topic across a lot of clients and sort of across the marketing and communications industry as a whole. Our perspective, in order to build trust with audiences and clients and with customers, both at Edelman and with our clients, is to disclose when AI plays a major role in the development of a piece of creative, like an image, visual, or audio output, including a video. There are several initiatives out there in the marketplace, like the Content Authenticity Initiative, which is spearheaded by Adobe, as well as at Edelman, we have a robust AI disclosures policy that helps, disclose to our clients as well as to the public when AI is used in a piece of creative, when AI is developing a large majority of that creative without a human leading it at first. So our policy is to disclose, and we do work with our clients to include language in our SOWs as well as MSAs to ensure safe data handling when leveraging AI tools. And we're happy to have that conversation with any clients that may be interested through a full disclosure framework.
Mirza, I'll give you another one because this is somewhat related. Outputting different content types through AI, is it policy to credit AI regenerated content in disclaimers?
Say that one more time for me, Brian. I missed
different content types being created through AI. Is it
Yes.
policy to credit AI for regenerating content as part of a disclaimer?
When you're looking at use cases of AI, for example, if you're using AI to edit a piece of content or to regenerate a piece of text, we don't necessarily recommend disclosing the use of AI in that instance. For example, you don't disclose that you use spell checker in Word or PowerPoint to adjust some of your content. So you have to look at specific use cases in terms of what should be disclosed. Our recommendation is that if AI is the first point of generation for a piece of content, and then a human edits it, then it should be disclosed. If a human creates a piece of content and then AI edits it, like let's say changing a background image or rephrasing a selection of text, then we don't necessarily recommend the disclosure of it from a public perspective. Of course, if there's data usage or anything on the back end, that disclosure would get covered in an SOW or an MSA language for sure.
I'm going to couple more questions. For the earned media example, did the agents access the media coverage available via a private data lake of content or only what was available on the public web?
It was a private data lake, custom data lake that helped drive the analysis and earned media agent for that example. We recommend anytime that you're leveraging AI agents that you have a wall and very defined and refined set of data to power those agents. because the better that your data is, the better that the agent will function. Just scraping content from the public web may get you some value, but if you want to achieve true automation, you want to have a custom data lake through your proprietary, that includes a mix of your proprietary data, public data, as well as any APIs from third-party service providers that could be useful for the outputs of that agent. For example, earned media coverage, perhaps a media monitoring tool could API into the agent to help scan and categorize the coverage that a certain client gets on a daily basis.
Yeah, and maybe just to put a pin in it, we have invested millions of dollars in data licensing relationships so that we can get to comprehensive data of not just the typical publications, but also premium publications and also those that are highly relevant for, let's say, healthcare and pharma or automotive or different sectors. So that enables us to have that comprehensive view, but also do it through a format in which we critically also can get to full text. So full text enables us to really understand and analyze the content itself versus just a headline or the first few words of the first paragraph of an article. Great presentation. How are you positioning and communicating how Edelman is using AI to your clients?
Is that for me?
Oh, you can lead, and then I'll jump on.
You might give a better answer. No, and Brian can piggyback, sort of tag team me on this. We are looking at leveraging AI through the framework that we shared today. So first, starting with that adoptive phase, you're looking at what are the right tools, or are we providing baseline AI literacy and education to our teams? And then as we move to phase 2 and phase 3, where AI begins to impact client work, speed to delivery, quality, et cetera, we are very transparent with our clients that we are the AI-powered communications, the leading AI-powered communications firm, and we're looking to leverage AI in a strategic, smart way to deliver quickly and at a higher quality the deliverables, strategy, and insights that they expect from us. And we're going through that transformation as a firm right now. And Brian can, of course, speak to this as well. But that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes hard work through our transformation, enablement, and strategy teams to ensure that we are looking at our workflows, enabling our folks with the right tools, understanding how they are servicing our clients, and then looking at how AI can be integrated into those deliverables. We are not necessarily doing a catch-all, throw AI at everything approach. We're being smart and strategic in our methodology to ensure that we're leveraging the technology in a way that's beneficial and not just for the sake of using it. And that's the process that we're going through right now, that we are discussing with our clients as we go.
I have a question that I'll try to answer. It's a great question and one that I think is really relevant to a lot of people on the call potentially, which is how would you champion this AI solution at a small enterprise insurance company as a mid-level employee? And there was a recent study, I don't know how many people on the call saw it, but essentially they looked at the role that AI was playing in software development. So engineers are now adopting AI very meaningfully. And what they found in the initial blush of the survey is that AI actually improved the work by roughly 40%. So engineers using AI improved the work of the software engineering of their organization, both in speed and quality, by roughly 40%. What was found in a subsequent piece of the study is that those that were using AI as a software engineer were, in fact, the highest performing employees before the actual implementation of AI. So the best at the company from a software development perspective were actually the first to adopt the use of AI in their software development. And what that meant was when they actually ran the control and study, they figured out that it wasn't 40% improvement, but it was 11% through the use of AI. But what it pointed to that I found so important for us and for our clients and our partners is if you're the person diving in, if you're the person trying to lead this change, If you're leading by example, there's probably a good case that you're already one of the best employees at the company and you're somebody that the company should be investing more in. You should be a part of the change. You should be a part of that vanguard that actually makes it to the other side in a really healthy and critical way for the rest of the company. Maybe time for one more question. And I will, Mirza, I'll leave this one for you. Can you point out what the main differences are between Gen AI and an AI agent model?
A Gen AI model, like a custom model and an agent model, the key differences, that's a great question. And that really is highlighting the differences between phase 2 and phase 3 of our agentic framework. You start with baseline education and off-the-shelf tools, right? And then you shift into how do I leverage my data to build something like a custom model or a custom GPT that helps me output content that I am regularly producing or helps me ideate on campaigns or initiatives that I regularly have to think about or provide strategy around. And a custom model, a generative AI custom model or GPT can help you output that kind of content that then you yourself as the human have to take, edit, place in the right, context, etc. The agent takes it a step further, right? A simple way to think about agents is that agents are tools or custom models that are trained on routines and that are connected to other agents or platforms that enable them to conduct activity, decision making, and outputs. It takes a custom model, which just gives you an output a step further, and the agent is able to make a decision on that content and pass that content or that data either to another agent, to a system where that output makes sense to live in or that enables a human activity. And so that is where the true automation lies, is going from a binary output of a custom model to an agent that's integrated and connected to your systems and has human oversight, which delivers on the automation potential of the agentic future.
Well, we will leave it there. If you are interested in hearing more, obviously, about our philosophy, but more importantly, our practical application of AI and how we're thinking about instituting an agentic framework in our work for clients, but also how our clients can leverage it, please feel free to reach out to Mirza or myself, or our broader team through your client lead. Also, we are going to be having another series of webinars in the next quarter, so we look forward to continuing this discussion and diving more deeply into areas, for instance, like generative engine optimization or GEO, which we think is really timely and important for all of us. Thank you so much for joining. It was a real pleasure. Mirza, thank you also for joining. As always, great work.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everybody.